Right, so welcome everybody to Logi 101. This class is going to teach you sort of the basics of flying Logi in a fleet or in small gangs, but mostly fleet. It's going to cover some fits, which are already linked to the MOTD, so you might already have your ships. It's going to be covering broadcasts, watch lists, and also cap chaining. And then we're going to have some practical demonstration where I'm going to be shooting at you guys, and you have to repair each other. So the first thing that you're going to want to do if you're flying Logi, open up your fleet window and then go to history and change the filters to broadcast history. You're going to want to have this window open at all times somewhere on your screen when you're flying Logi, because when other people broadcast for reps, they will show up here, and you can lock people directly from this window, and we'll be doing that in a second, but definitely keep this window open all the time. The next setup you're going to want to do, click the hamburger menu in the top left and open broadcast settings. And then there's going to be a bunch of different broadcasts that people can make, and as Logi you're going to want to make sure you have need capacitor and need shield checked. And it's also a good idea to color code them. So on the right side of this broadcast settings window there's a little drop down box color picker. So make sure you code capacitor and shield accordingly. I have shield as blue and capacitor as yellow just because those are the colors of them. But you can color code it whatever you want. That'll make it really easy to know when someone's broadcasting for what. You can, if you want to, uncheck broadcast target, because that will largely be unrelated to your job. That's mostly for the DPS people and the rest of the fleet. But you're definitely going to want to make sure to turn that back on if you change ships. Let me see if this works here. No, I can't broadcast from inside the dock, but that's fine. Okay, so once you have your broadcast all sorted out, the other setup that you're going to want to do before every fleet is Watchlist. And basically what the Watchlist is it's a little window that pops up, and you can add people to it. When you're in space with them, you can see their health without having to lock them, and also you can easily, lock them to heal them directly from the watch list. So I'm gonna put my name in fleet, and then right click my name, go under fleet, and click add to watch list. It should show up on a little window. Generally, you're gonna always want to have your FC on your watch list, because not only are you anchoring on him, you also want to rep him if he starts taking damage. Your secondary FC, if there is one, and then after that, it's really up to you. Usually, it's going to be other logi and special snowflakes, like ships that are worth a lot, on your watch list. And yeah, as Charlie said, in the very bottom right of your fleet window, make sure there's a little icon that's just got 4 arrows up, down, left, and right. That means that when you broadcast, everyone in the fleet can see it instead of just your squad or something. So make sure I'm on your watch list. The watch list can hold up to 15 people at once, so usually more than enough for whatever you need. That's pretty much it for the fleet setup. Go ahead and undock now, and I'm going to do a little section on cap chaining. Want everybody get undocked? Okay, do we have only 2 ospreys here? Besides Frederick and Charlie, is there any other ospreys? All right, well, then this next section applies only to ospreys, but it's very important. Most of the times we're going to be flying ospreys in fleets, and ospreys have a sort of special characteristic when they're flying, when they're flown as logi. Running the reppers by themselves, they're not actually cap stable. So what you do is you fit remote cap transmitters on your ship, and then you give cap to another osprey, and he gives cap back to you, and the net result is that you both have more cap than before. So ospreys have to continuously do that to remain cap stable. So since we only have 2 ospreys, you guys are just going to be putting both cap transmitters on each other. Normally, when you are in a fleet with ospreys, you will join a special channel called a cap chain channel. I'll just go ahead and link one here. That's one that's pretty often used. And what you'll do is you open a member list of that channel, and you give one cap transmitter to the person whose name is above you, and one cap transmitter to the person who is below you. So right now, we might as well practice this a little bit. Just the two ospreys. Go ahead and lock each other, and then give cap to each other. Also, when there's only two of you, you're going to want to stagger your cap, which means start one cap transmitter and then wait a couple seconds until the first one is halfway through its cycle, and then activate the second one. This makes it so it's a more steady flow of cap, and you'll never, get nuded out at once. Does it look like it's going all right, Fred? All right, cool. So next thing, if you should still have your broadcast window open. So right now I'm going to broadcast for Shield, and you should see that show up in the window as whatever color you set it as. And then I'm also going to do a capacitor and an armor one for completion's sake. So from that window, if you're next to me, you can just hold control and click on the broadcast, and it'll automatically lock me. It's a lot faster than trying to search through the watch list or search through the list of friendly ships in your overview. So make sure you're using that to prioritize who to rep. You're probably also going to want to hotkey your broadcast if you haven't already. There are two ways to broadcast. One is at the bottom of your fleet window, there's a row of little buttons. You can broadcast armor, shield, or capacitor, or whatever else from there, but it's kind of awkward to hit in the middle of a battle. So open up your escape menu, and then go to shortcuts, and I think it's in, damn, what is it? Is it in general? Combat? No, it's not combat. Navigation one. Okay. Yeah, it's under the navigation tab, and bind broadcast need shield to something, and need capacitor too if you're flying ospreys. And if you're an armor logy broadcast, or bind broadcast need armor as well. Cool. So with that done, that should be pretty much it for just the setups and the sort of basics of what you need to do. Generally, for smaller fights, you will be anchored on the FC, just like the rest of the DPS. In much larger fights, usually in stratops, you'll have a separate anchor, a logy anchor, and you anchor on them instead of the FC, so that they can keep the logy wing away from the enemies. Because as logy, you are absolutely going to get targeted first in every engagement, pretty much. So if you're too close to the enemies, you're just going to get wiped off the field. But for now, in this fleet, just anchor on me. How far do we usually anchor at? Usually 500. Just do 500 by default unless the FC says something else. Some fleets, they might ask 2500 if they have boosters or something. But yeah, usually 500. Cool. So that's pretty much it for the theoretical knowledge. We're going to do a little bit of practice here next. So, oh, am I not? Oh, then it's used too close. Okay. All right, take this warp up here. Once we land, I want everybody to orbit me at 500. All right, so orbit 4 at 500, and then I'm going to lock you all up and start randomly hitting some of you. And your job, if you are the person being hit, you have to broadcast for shields as soon as you get hit. And the rest of you, your job is to repair him as I hit him. Keep in mind that I'm going to be using two different forms of damage. One has a lot more than the other. So if there's two people getting damaged, you should also try to prioritize which one should receive reps first. And ospreys, make sure your cap chain is up, of course. Cool. Partway through this, I'm also going to start neuting out. Actually, no, we only have two ospreys, so there's no point to practicing that. Actually, yeah, I'm going to start neuting out either a bantam or a scythe. If you get neuted out, broadcast for cap, and then the ospreys, break one cap remote off from your cap chain partner and give it to the person who's requesting it. Just one cycle, and then return it back to your partner. All right, I'm going to start hitting people now. Make sure as soon as you start getting hit by anyone, you broadcast need shield. All right, nice reps, nice reps. Zakar, make sure you're broadcasting when you get hit. Nice work, nice work. You're holding everybody there. Gonna start neuting some people now. Oh, I forgot we only have two ospreys. I'm not sure that my DPS here will be enough to simulate it, but sometimes if the DPS is too big, you're going to want to be heating your reps on the target. I'm pretty sure you guys... yeah, that's fine. All right, nice work. Yeah, you guys are keeping everybody up, broadcasting when you need to. And yeah, keep in mind for some of the solo logi, that is basically not ospreys and not basilisks, you are not cap stable running your reps. So if you just continuously run your reps, you can also cap yourself out. Make sure that if you are under some cap pressure, to never let your cap fall below around 30%, because past that point, it regens slower. 33% is the peak regeneration rate of your capacitor. So like don't cap yourself out unless you just really need to keep one person up. Okay, I'm gonna stop shooting you guys and nuding now. Honestly, that's pretty much all there is to Logi. You just gotta stay on Anchor, watch broadcasts, and rep up people who broadcast for Shield. Generally, it is not your responsibility to watch people's health and preemptively rep them. If they don't broadcast, that's their own damn fault. Aside from, maybe FC or some watch listed special snowflakes. Yeah, I covered color coding the broadcast as well. You're definitely going to want to do that to make your broadcast history clearer. That was pretty much it. Is there anything else that you can think of that I forgot to mention? As in who to rep? Yeah, it's usually first is going to be FC, and I always order my watch list like this as well, so people nearest the top are most priority. So it's FC, secondary FC, because if they die, you're kind of screwed. Under that is usually the super special snowflakes, like if you have, some E-War cruisers. No, Dictas are kind of just regular snowflakes. I'm talking about like if someone's worth, 600 mil in their ship or something. Yeah, those are usually second. And then third is usually fellow Logi for me. You want to keep them up so you can keep yourself up. After that is going to be the regular snowflakes like Dictors, tackle if the fleet is small enough. Just people that you'd like to keep alive if possible. And then DPS ships I almost just never put on the watch list. Unless you're in a fleet so small you can fit everybody. Yeah. Yeah, stagger your reps if they don't like immediately need all the reps. There's also one characteristic of shield reps, both local and remote, which is that as soon as you hit the module, it's gonna boost their shield. Armor reps are different. They will only heal you or your target after the cycle ends. I'm not sure if this is true, but I heard that this is why Brave likes the shield doctrine because they're easier to use. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, being a shield alliance helps the Logi, makes their jobs a little bit easier. Oh, there is another thing, which is if your fleet gets bombed, first of all, if you get bombed in a fleet, you should never broadcast for reps because as soon as the fleet gets bombed, like half the people are going to broadcast for reps, and that's going to really clog up the broadcast history. So the Logi won't be able to see the people who actually need reps, as opposed to the people who just took like maybe a fifth of their shield in bomb damage. So if you see a bomb coming towards your fleet, make sure you identify sort of the key, rep targets and don't get overwhelmed by the flood of broadcasts that are about to come. Inevitably, the FC will probably say something like, don't fucking broadcast for bomb damage, but inevitably people will do it. Um, no, usually, I mean, usually the rule that I go by is just if anyone broadcasts for cap, I give them one cycle, and then switch back to my cat buddy. Because usually you won't be the only logi doing it. There will be several ospreys doing that, so that'll pretty much cap them up to full. Honestly, that's pretty much all I got. So yeah, if there's any questions, go ahead and ask them. All right, cool. Yeah, thanks for coming, and fly more logi. We can always use more logi. Ospreys are great. We fly tons of caracals and moas. Ospreys go good with them. Um, I don't know so much about standing. The problem with standing fleet is that not, you might be hard pressed to find a cap chain buddy. But yeah, definitely ospreys on fleets are great. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. In an actual fleet with a logi wing, you'll have your own channel for cap chaining and talking to other logi. You might have your own comms channel too if it's serious enough. Zakar, you said FC in fleet chat. Is that what's that for? Ah, I see. Okay. Oh, um, sorry. Go ahead with your question. Oh, okay. Where's standing usually based? It's just all over the place, but generally around Victor 3, GE, Victor 3, and kind of HY-ish area, because that's where the most enemies come through. Standing is usually just people looking for a fight. Also, yeah, catch standing. Also, standing fleet is not purely composed of people in combat ships, because everyone who's ratting or mining or whatever else, as long as they're in catch and not part of another fleet, they should generally be in catch standing. So you can assume that a large portion of people in catch standing are just off doing their own thing. There was one more thing. As Logi, obviously, since you're going to be only repping your allies, you're not going to show up on the kill mails for enemy ships normally. So if, well, always basically carry a horde drone, which is just a single light drone that you use to attack the target that the FC is calling. So you get on the kill mail. Anything that So to get on a kill mail, all you have to do is activate a hostile module on them. If it's a gun, a turret, a newt, uh, a scram, a paint, whatever. Even if it does nothing, like if you shoot a gun and miss, or you shoot a missile and it's too far, and your missile doesn't even hit them, it doesn't matter. You'll get on the kill mail as long as you do something that gives you an aggression timer. The one sort of exception is with drones. You can't just sick your drones on an enemy. Your drone has to actually shoot the enemy, which means it has to fly over to the enemy first. So your drones do have a short delay before you can actually get on the kill mail. But of course, this is not your priority during a fight. You should definitely prioritize repping people and keeping them alive, but you're also going to want to, bring a horde drone so you can get on kill mills. Because otherwise, if you fly Logi in a big fleet, you're not really going to have too much to show for it. Combat boosters as in drugs or yeah. Yeah, so most people, if you're running Logi, you're going to want to get mindflood. Let me link it here. Yeah, so it'll guaranteed give you 10% bonus to your capacitor, and then the worst thing it can really give you is like the booster penalty or the repair penalty. So that would suck if you roll that as logy, but it's pretty much fine. Um, you're definitely going to want to keep that for any real engagement. It'll help you keep a lot more cap stable. And Charlie was asking, do skills? So yeah, so boosters affected, and then skills. I think the ship skills will affect your repair amount, like Caldari Cruiser for Ospreys, and also the capacitor need. Let me double check here. Yeah, so Ospreys for Caldari Cruiser will give you shield booster amount and shield booster cap activation cost reduction. And then your character skills, like uh, shield emission systems, reduces your capacitor need. So only the ship bonus itself and the drugs will increase your actual repair amount. But you should definitely still train up your skills. Any other questions? Cool. Then I'm just going to go ahead and end the class here. If you ever have any more questions, feel free to ask in Dojo or just ask anyone. And thanks for coming.